Hey, g'day, it's Buck here from Queer Pagan Men Australia, and today I'm very excited to be introducing you all to David Shorey. Now, David is a student and an initiate of the Unnamed Path. He's also a student of fairy seership under Orion Foxwood, and he's also a student of Druidry. So, anyway, without further ado, welcome, David.
Howdy, as they say in the West.
Well, g'day, as we say here in Australia. So we are super excited that you're coming all the way over to Australia to present at Roots&Bones. And I just thank you for taking the time to do this interview, because I think it's just really good for everyone to get a little bit of a meeting of you and get to know a little bit about you. So tell us all your deepest, darkest secrets right now.
Let's see. My deepest, darkest secrets. I like dark chocolate.
All right, good. That's
I like beets. That's dark.
Oh, there we go.
Let's see.
Well,
that's about it.
I'm
very boring.
Huh?
I'm boring.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I know. No, you're not. So I guess, could you share with us a little bit about your personal journey as a queer pagan man, in your journey towards finding a path that resonated with you, and also what it meant for you in that journey and what that experience was like?
Sure. So really, I go back to my childhood. I grew up in the city of Pacific Grove, which is at the tip of the Monterey Peninsula in California. Actually, it's about 120 miles south of San Francisco for folks who might want to, figure out where that is. And I was a single child, and I had a mom who would let me go explore all over the place and go to the ocean and walk through the forest and go and I think that all of us, when we look back on our lives as we've come out and we're like, oh, maybe I wasn't so hidden in the closet as a kid as I thought I was. And so I had these moments where I just connected with the world around me and connected with, the natural world, and always felt a little bit different, a little bit odd, a little bit queer. And so when I went off to college and then graduated college, and then started kind of getting out in the world, I came to terms with the fact that, I was not the straightest bird in the bunch. And so my spiritual side kind of was all interwoven in between that, because I would go down to sit by the ocean and listen, and I'd walk through graveyards and listen, and I'd climb trees and listen. But I didn't really, I didn't come out until I was 26. So I'm one of those late comer outers. When you have some of the 17, 16, 15-year-olds who are like, woo, I'm coming out of the closet. I wasn't so quick. I had to kind of get dragged out of the closet. But really, once I did, there was this aspect of who I was that said, okay, I'm gay, but there's also a deeper side of me that I want to connect with. And so I started exploring a spiritual level, got connected with Druidry, and then was connected with the Unnamed Path. And then after started studying the Unnamed Path, I started studying with Orion Foxwood. And all three of those things really, really complement each other.
Cool. Okay. So the Unnamed Path, obviously, as many people will know, is actually a path that is specifically for men who love men. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and your experience in coming towards the unnamed path, and what that meant for you, and the key parts of that journey.
Sure. So my first pagan path, like I said earlier, was Druidry, which is a very earth-based spiritual practice that honors the wheel of the year and honors the cycle of life, and it was very much something that connected with my ancestral roots, and there was the gods and there were the goddesses and there was the great rites and there was all that, but it was I loved it. It still resonates with me, but there was still something missing. There was an interconnectedness, a relationship that I felt with my spiritual experience that wasn't fully, it just wasn't quite there with Druidry. And so one year I happened to do a search for gay paganism, and I came across the Unnamed Path, started listening to the podcasts, and then I had the opportunity to meet Hyperion, who founded the Unnamed Path, at a PantheaCon, and got to know him better, continued to listen, continued to kind of do my own research with it. And then at one point, I just messaged him and I said, so how does someone study formally the Unnamed Path? And he invited me to be an apprentice of his.
Wonderful.
And so, it really allowed me, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, to connect with a side of myself that, to connect with who I am authentically, and not have to worry about, well, there's a great rite, or they're doing this, and they're honoring the fertility, and I can kind of connect with that because I see, the world around me. The Unnamed Path is really, it's a ecstatic tradition, it's experiential tradition, and part of the workshop that I'm going to do is going to talk about how the Unnamed Path differs from maybe other traditions that folks are experienced with, and maybe also how it's been inspired by those.
Great. Awesome. Very cool. So, you're now a teacher of the Unnamed Path. What has that meant for you, actually going from a student with Hyperion and since taking on that role of a teacher and handing on that knowledge and sharing and continuing what he started?
A couple of things. One, it's given me insight as to how much work Hyperion did, and and how maybe how bad of a student I was. But it's also helped me deepen my own understanding, connection with the path, because you learn something, but then when you turn around to teach it, it's quite a bit different, because you are seeing the material from both sides, and what you've gone through when you've learned the material. But now it's like, well, how do you take what you've experienced in your life, combine it with this written material, and then present it in a way that your students will not only understand the material, but will be able to connect with it at a personal level.
Cool. Awesome. So, the workshop you're going to be presenting at Roots&Bones, it's climbing trees and tending fires.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the ritual, from the workshop, and what we can walk away with?
Sure. Well, basically, the name tending fires and climbing trees talks about the two of the big parts of the Unnamed Path, which are the world tree and our connection between the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world, and also the ancestors through the bonfire of the ancestors. And so, what I'm going to be talking about is going through the different aspects of the Unnamed Path. We don't call a circle. We raise the great crossroads. When we raise the great crossroads, we acknowledge the 4 paths of the Unnamed Path, which are shamanism, death walking, energy healing, and magic and prophecy. And then we also acknowledge the deities of the Unnamed Path, the light and dark god and the light and dark goddess. And so I'm going to basically follow that and go through and explain what all those different parts are, how they were inspired, how folks can connect with them on their own, and what it is. Why does the Unnamed Path exist? What does it? What benefit does it bring to us as men who love men? And we say men who love men instead of queer men or gay men, or because gay, queer, homosexual, all the words that have been assigned to us really are new words. They're within the last few hundred years, and so since we honor the ancestors, we want to bring it down to a point where we can say men who love men, because that's something that's been consistent for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And to honor our ancestors and to honor people without trying to say, well, you're a gay man, or you're a bi man, or you're a queer man, and really connect with the spiritual side rather than the terminology.
Cool. Okay. So, from the workshop, are we going to be doing any technique work from the Unnamed Path, or what can we expect there?
Well, as we go through, so I know that we'll be doing the tree breathing exercise over the weekend. I think you may have mentioned that to me, but we'll also be doing a path working to meet the ancestors. This is it's a guided meditation, and this is actually meditation that we use consistently since the founding of the Unnamed Path, to give folks kind of a guided journey to meet, the ancestors of men who love men. And when we talk about ancestors, many people think, oh, so blood ancestors, or ancestors maybe from my community. But really, since we as men who love men are a tribe, a community that spans cultures and hemispheres and nations and years, it really is that collective of men who love men, who currently, who have lived in this time frame, who are living in the time frame, and who will live in the time frame, because time is something we've made up. When you connect at the spiritual level, when you connect at the energetic level, time slips away, and so we'll be connecting with the ancestors, having an introduction. We'll also probably do the raising of the Great Crossroads in a not formal, but in its full sense, and then have the opportunity for folks to ask questions and maybe delve into some of the stuff that I brought up. And you never know, maybe a possession will happen. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome. So between now and the workshop, is there any preparation work or advice that you would give those coming along that they might be able to either read more or listen more to find out more about what to expect?
Right. So the Unnamed Path was actually started as a podcast by Hyperion Eddie Gutierrez, and people can go to www.unnamedpath.com. We actually now have 2 podcasts. We have the old podcast, which was a series of lessons that Hyperion did. There's about 69. I think that number was intentional. 69 lessons. And then there's a couple of interviews that he did subsequent. And then we also have Walking the Unnamed Path, which is perspective of initiates and people who've been associated with the Unnamed Path and how they're actually using the Unnamed Path in their current life. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to listen to. There's great stuff to read. on the website. And we also have a Facebook page. So do a search for Unnamed Path, a Facebook page and a Facebook group. So all of that should keep people busy for the next few months.
I think so.
I would say that in preparation of some of the ancestor work that we're going to do, I would encourage folks to maybe think of an ancestor of men who love men that perhaps they might want to have a connection with. Do a little bit of reading. Find out, it could be someone in your family, it could be someone in your country, it could be someone just around the world. Do a little bit of reading. Find out kind of who they are, where they are, why they're important, and then take the opportunity when we do that guided meditation to maybe reach out to them and have them come forth and have that interaction. So if there's any homework I would give, I would say just do a little bit of research and open yourself to having that experience.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, look, thank you very, very much for your time, and we're really excited to have you down here, down under. And yeah,
I'm excited too.
So thank you again for your time. And look, if people do have questions at all they want to ask David between now and Roots and Bones, by all means, they can send messages to Roots and Bones, either just on the page or even on the event if they've got questions about the path or want more direction. More than happy to forward some questions there. But thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in about 5-6 months.
5 months, yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Bye.